Hello guys and welcome to Laravel 7 tutorials. So guys, in the previous video we successfully implemented the read operation for our blog using Yajra data tables and Ajax post request. And in this specific video we are going to start implementing the update functionality for our blog. But let me tell you one thing, that we are not going to implement the specific update functionality right here in this video. Reason being, because for the update we need to create an edit blog page so that we can get a specific blog related data on the edit blog page, so that later on we can update our record. Okay, so in this video we are once again we are going to implement the read functionality for the edit blog page. Okay, and in the next video we are going to implement the remaining part of the update functionality. Okay, so let's start without further talking. So first of all I will move to git bash right here and I'm going to start my project php artisan serve. Okay, if it doesn't make sense right now, it will, just stick with me. Okay guys, okay, let's move to Google and I'm going to open my project right here. Okay, let's move to login. I will put my ID and password right here. Login. Okay, now let's move to blogs. So right here we have our blogs, and now let's say if we click on edit blog, nothing is going to happen because in this case we are not using Ajax post request and we haven't implemented anything for this edit column, okay, or this edit anchor. So first of all what we need is we need a page just like create blog. Okay, so to keep it simple I will move to Sublime and I'm going to copy this specific page. Okay, so let's do that. First of all let's move to resources, views, backend, and I'm going to open this create blog and I'm going to copy everything from right here. Now I'm going to create a new file in the backend folder, sorry, not a folder, and it would be a file, new file, and I'm going to paste everything right here and let's save it, and with the name of, let's say, edit blog.blade.php. Okay, so now we have our edit blog right here. We need to change some minor things right here like the heading, etc., but we can do that later as well. Okay, first we need to see this page on the browser. Okay, and we don't have any specific link to see this page, the edit blog blade. Okay, so let's do that, and for that I will move to public backend partials and I am going to open blog-js. Okay, so right here in the edit column right here, first of all I don't need the ID right here because I'm not using Ajax in this case, so I will just remove it because it is unnecessary, and I'm going to remove the class edit tag right here. Okay, now what we are going to do, we are going to define a URL right here. So let's create a URL first. So for that I'm going to write any guesses guys? First of all, base URL. Why? Because let's say in this case we are working on the local host, but let's say if later on we are going to push our project to the live environment, this route won't work. Why? Because in that case you have a base, you have a different base URL. It's not a local host anymore, but it is going to be a domain. Okay, so that's the reason of implementing the base URL right here, and followed by, let's say, edit blog. Okay, and I'm going to pass the ID so that we can get a specific blog related data. So for that, once again, $row.id. That's it. Let's check it out on the browser. First of all, if everything is correct, the URL right here, so I'm going to inspect it. Okay guys, so everything looks fine right here. You can see localhost / edit blog and / the ID. So let's create the route now. So I will move to web.php right here and I will move down right here and I'm going to create a view just like that. Let's copy that and let's paste it right here. So this time it would be, let's say, the edit blog, and with the parameter, in this case I'm sure you know how to get the parameter or how to define a parameter that this route will contain an ID, so without a $sign. Okay guys, Just remember that. Okay, let's move forward, and in this case once again I'm going to use the block controller, and for the view, let's say I don't want the create block view, but I want the edit block view in this case. Okay, so let's create this function in the controller now. Control P, block controller. Let's move down to right here. Okay, let's move forward, and I'm going to put a comment, return edit block view, and let's create a method, public function edit block view. Yeah, I'm correct. Okay, so $ID so that we can get the ID right here, and let's do a DD so that we know we are successfully hitting our controller method. Okay, let's do that. I'm going to do a refresh, and let's try to click on any of this edit anchor tag, edit, and now we are successfully hitting our controller. Basically we are in the controller. Okay, now what we can do, we can simply return a view. Okay, let's do that. And first of all, I would like to mention one thing right here, that is right here we are getting the data using the ID. Okay, but in your case, let's say if you are displaying the tags right here in this column, the process for the tags that we did in the previous video, if you don't remember it, let me show you right here. For some reason, because I didn't wanted to see the tags in this table, I removed it. Okay, so we implemented this tag method to get the tags using the ID right here. Okay, so let's say if you are printing or getting your tags right here, this you will not be able to use this ID right here. Why? Because in place of this ID, what you will have is right here span. Okay, so for that, what you can do, you can simply use a URL as well. Okay, let's just say, let's say if I say let's move to JS, and without using the ID, what you can do, you can simply pass the other column, let's say the title, the URL, or whatever you like. Okay, so you can define it like that as well. Okay, so let's move forward, and I just wanted to tell you that's it. Okay, so this is a simple procedure. If you are using the ID for the text, what you can do, you can simply use the URL to get the specific blog related data, and your query will be like, let's say like this, $blog is equals to blog where URL is equals to $URL, because in that case you will have a URL right here. Okay, so that will be your query, and I want the first one. That's it, and you will have your blog specific blog related data right here. Okay, so just wanted to tell you that in case if you are using the ID for the text, you can do that. Okay, let's move forward, and where were we? Right here. Okay, so everything is working fine. Now what I want to do, I will just remove it for now, and I'm going to return a view. Return view, and the view is located in backend, and the name is edit blog view. Okay, and I'm going to get an error. I know the reason, but I just wanted to tell you. Okay, so let's see what the error is. Let me first refresh my page, and once again I'm going to click the edit. Okay, so because of DD we didn't got any error. Let's remove that, because we are successfully hitting our controller specific method, the edit block. Okay, so now we have edit block view. Sorry guys. Okay, so it's not a view, but the blade name is edit block. Okay, okay, so I was talking about this error right here, $categories. So let's move to our edit block, and I just want to mention right here, guys, we are seeing this categories related error because of this, because we are getting the categories, and for this basically we are using a for each to print our categories right here, but we are not returning anything from this blade or this controller method. Why? Because this error occurred because of the create block right here. For the create block right here, let me show you so everything makes sense. See, create block, we pass the categories and the tags so that we can get all the categories and tags from the database, and we can simply show them right here on this specific page. Let me show you. Okay, so right here, okay, so we are getting the all the categories and tags from here, and we are passing our categories and tags to this specific page so that we can get them in the select options. Okay, so similarly we want this categories and tags for the edit plate. So what I am going to do to remove these error, and the other case is because we also need our categories and tags right here, because let's say if a user want to update his blog, what he has to do, he can select any categories from the categories that we already have. So what I'm going to do, $categories is equals to category, and I want all the categories. That's it. And let's say and one more thing, let's say if I pass the categories right here, compact categories, now the error will be related to tags. Why? Because we are not passing the tags from right here. Okay, let me show you with an example. Edit. Okay, so I made a mistake, sorry guys. Compact, let me see where is the error. Okay, I think the spelling. Okay, so right here is the mistake, right guys, sorry, silly mistakes. Okay, let's do a refresh, and now we will have undefined variable tags. Why? Because we are using the for each to get all the tags right here, but we are not passing anything from the controller. So let's do that. $tags is equals to tag all, that's it. And now we need to pass it to the view. That's it. Okay, let's do a refresh, and now everything works like a charm. Okay, so let's change these heading, create blog, create, and I'm going to change this button to update. Okay, so let's do that. Let's move to edit blog, and I will move to top right here, edit blog. The other heading is right here, edit, and let's move down to this one, update. That's it. Okay, so everything is changed now. You can see edit blog, update, and right here edit blog. So everything is working perfectly fine. Now what we need to do, we are successfully passing the categories to the select field right here for the select categories, and the tags for the select tags. Okay, so the next thing is, let's say if I click on this specific blog, I have the relevant ID for this specific blog right here. Okay, so we are going to get this specific blog which have an ID of 8, and we are going to pass it to the view. Let's do that, and I will move to blog controller. The same procedure, but I have the ID. So what I'm going to do, $blog is equals to blog find $ID. Okay, but in case if you are using a URL or title, whatever you can say, you can simply, your query will be just like this, blog is equals to blog, sorry, not like that, where, let's say URL or title, whatever you are passing right here, and the variable you are getting or you have defined right here. Okay, so this will be your query in case if you are not using the ID. That's it. Now let's pass this blog to the view. Okay guys, let's move. Okay, so now everything looks fine and we don't have any sort of error. Now what we are going to do, we are going to get the title URL in the relevant fields right here. So let's do that, and for that I am going to close this create blade and I will move to edit block, and let's start from the top right here. So for the title, in this case, because this is the edit block blade, we don't need the placeholder, because by default we are going to pass some data with the help of controller, and we are going to print the data right here in the field. So in this case we don't need the placeholder, so I will just remove it. And one more thing, we don't need the old title right here, but let's say first let me print the title here for you so that we can understand it better. Okay, so how am I going to do that? Simple, using the variable that I have defined or passed it from right here, blog. Okay, so let's do that, $blog, and it has a title and I want that specific title. That's it. Nice and simple. Okay guys, so now we have our blog title right here. Okay, now what I meant by the old field or old value, let's discuss that. Okay, so let's say guys, if we have successfully implemented the update functionality right here, and now what I'm going to do, let's say I want to update my record, update. Okay, now when I come right here and let's say I press the update, in this case we don't have anything, but let's say if everything is working fine and we have successfully implemented the update functionality, so then when we click on this update and let's say we had an error on any of these specific field, so what are we going to get? Once the page is reloaded, we are going to get an error and this field will be reverted back to just like this. Okay, so in that case, let's say if you wanted to get the old value, what you can do is simply create a logic for each of the field. Let's say if there is an old value for title, print the old title, or else print the blog title right here. So that will be the condition in case if you want the old field. In my case, I don't want that, so I will proceed with the remaining one. Okay, and one last thing before I make the changes for the rest of the field, that is, let's say, just for an example, because I want to show you something, I have a variable called something. Okay, and I don't have anything in this variable. Let's see what we have. Page refreshed and the page is crashed right here. $something is undefined. Okay, so how can we fix that? Basically guys, in this case we don't have this variable defined, or we don't have anything in this $something. So what we can do, we can simply do this. Let's say if $something contains or is not empty, print whatever it is. And if let's say if $something contains nothing and it is empty, what you have to do? Print an empty string. So for my case, I'm going to do that. Let's say in any case, if we have any sort of error and we didn't got our blog title, we can simply print an empty string right there. Okay, so just for the precautions. Okay, blog title, and let's say if there is no title, I don't want anything. Let me show you with the last example so that you can understand it better. Let's say $something, else nothing. So we don't have anything in $something variable, so we are going to get nothing right here. See, so this was my point right here. Let's proceed with the video, and in this case I'm going to assign $blog title. If there is title, you have to print the title, else what you have to do, you have to print nothing or empty string. That's it. Refresh and you can see everything is working like a charm. Okay, so I'm going to do that for the remaining of the fields, so let's do that quickly. Okay, so first of all, I don't need this placeholder for the URL, and I'm going to replace this old value with the $blog URL, else nothing. Okay, just to be on the safe side, let's say if any case we have an error, we are going to print nothing if this variable is coming empty. Okay, so let's move forward. We don't need this for the select categories, we don't need this for the select tags, we don't need this for the upload images. Maybe later on we are going to get the, let's say, preview of the image, so that when we are going to upload the image while creating the blog, or let's say we are updating our blog, we can have a nice preview right here. Okay, but that's another story. We are not going to do that right now. Okay, let's move forward, and I will make the changes for this one as well. And here we have a placeholder. I will remove it. That's it. Let's replace this $blog, in this case image alt, else nothing. Let's move forward. Placeholder, I'm going to remove this, and let's do the value would be in this case $log, sorry guys, $log meta else empty. Okay, let's move forward. Short description, we don't have a placeholder for this, so I'm just going to change right here, $log short description. That's it. Let's move forward. We don't have the placeholder for the description as well, so I'm just going to make my change right here, $log description else nothing. That's it. So we have successfully made our changes, and now we will have our data right here. Okay, so that's what I wanted to implement in this video, so that when we move to the update functionality, we have everything working right here. Okay, so the remaining changes are, let's say I want the category that this specific belongs to, so I'm going to get the category, and let's see how can we do that. But first of all, I'm going to start with this publish block. Why? Because let me show you. Let's move back, and let's say if this blog right here, it's not approved, so let's move. It's not approved, just wait for a second. And right here you can see this field is checked. Why? Because we are marking it as a checked value by default, because we did that for the create blog page, so that admin doesn't have to click it again and again or each and every time. Okay, so we were just a bit like, we implemented that, let's say our admin is lazy and he doesn't want to check it every time, so that's why we did that. Okay guys, normal procedure. But in this case we want, because right here we are updating a record, so we want to get the actual value, because as I have told you that we are going to get all the blocks, the ones that are awaiting approval or the ones are active, we are going to get everything right here. So let's say if admin wants to activate a blog, what he can simply do, open a blog and click on this publish, and he can do it from here as well. So let's get the actual value right here. And how are we going to do that? Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to let's say if you want to put an if and else condition, you can do that, but let me show you the other way as well. Log active equals to 1. Remember that we have this column, basically the active column in the database, as tiny int or boolean, and it is going to accept the value of 1 or 0, and not like, you should not write 1 like this in the columns. Okay, sorry, not the columns but the commas. Okay, it should be like this. Okay, so if active blog active equals to 1, what you have to do, mark it as checked, else what you have to do is do nothing. Let's review, refresh, and now you can see the difference right here, it's not checked. And let's move back and let's open a specific blog that is approved, let's say this one, so it should be checked by default when we open it. And right here you can see the difference. So this is working perfectly fine guys. Okay, so I hope you guys are liking this. Okay, let's move forward. Now I want to get this specific blog related category to be selected by default, so let's do that. Let's move up and right here. So I'm going to remove this old category which we had because of the create blog, because we copied everything from the create blade. So I'm going to remove it, and I'm going to write $blog category, because we are going to get the ID. Okay, with the relation you can say, okay, blog category ID, if it is equals to $category ID, the category that we are printing each and every time while we are using the for each. Basically we are running this loop, and inside we are writing a condition. Let's say if blog category ID is equals to this specific category, whatever it is, if it match, what you have to do, you have to simply mark it as checked or selected. Okay, so if it is equals to category ID, what you have to do, mark it as selected, else what you have to do, nothing. That's it. Let's see what we have. Okay guys, so now we have one specific category selected right here. Let's move and see what we had for this. Okay, so right here you can see the sports, and it was this means that it was working perfectly fine. Let's open this Laravel learning Laravel one, add it, and now you can see learning Laravel is selected right here. Okay, so it is working perfectly fine. Now what we have to do, we have to implement another condition so that we can get the selected tags for this specific block. Basically we are going to mark it as selected. So let's do that, and for that I will move to right here, and I am going to remove everything that is right here. Okay, and if I'm going to remove that too, and let's move to next line, and let's move this option to next line as well. Let's align this. Okay, let's say now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a condition. Basically first we need to for each the tags, because in this case the block relationship with tags is many to many, and in any case we are going to get the block related tags using the for each. So what we have to do, first we have to implement the for each loop. @for each $blog tags. You remember the tags? The tags basically this tags right here is the method that we implemented in the blog.php. Okay, so blog tags as $bt, blog tag basically short form, and I'm going to end this for each right here. Okay, let's move forward, and I'm going to write a condition. If $bt id, let's say, is equals to $tag id, what you have to do, simply mark it as selected. Okay guys, so I'm showing you like a lot of ways how can you do that, and I'm telling you that you can, there is like let's say for doing each and every task right here in the Laravel, you have multiple ways. You can simply do it with the conditions, or you can do it with the curly braces, etc. It's totally up to you. Let's do a refresh. Okay, so yeah, I forgot to end my if, and if. Now everything should work perfectly fine. Let's refresh. Okay guys, so now you can see that we have our selected, basically the tags are selected right here. Okay, so everything is working fine, and let me show you the other blocks as well so you can see the difference. Okay, so let's say I want to open this technology tag or technology block. Technology category is selected, and we have the selected tags right here. Okay, and let's say if you want to remove this and get another tag, you can simply get it right here, and then basically everything is working perfectly fine right here. So the next step is to create or to submit this form to a specific method in the controller so we can implement the validation. That's we are going to do that in the next video, but let's do that so that we have our data in the controller for the validation and for the updation procedure. Okay, so let's do that, and for that I will move to first of all edit block plate, and I'm going to change this URL to blog update, let's say. Okay, let's create this URL. I will move to web.php, and I'm going to copy this. Okay, and now blog update, and let's create a method with, let's say, update. Okay, let's move to blog controller, and right here update blog public function update request $request td $request, and I want all, so that we can see some data. Let's move, refresh, and since you can see we have our data in the input field, so what we are going to do, simply press, let's say, update, and we are successfully hitting our method. Right here you can see we are using the dd to print the data. Okay, so everything is working fine, and the reason for separating this video from the update procedure is, let's say I don't want to update the image for this specific blog. What I'm going to do, I'm going to simply make the changes for the title, URL, etc., and I don't want to upload a new image, so I'm going to update. Then we are going to implement a condition right here. Let's say if there is no image in the submitted font, what you have to do, you have to apply this specific validation. And let's say if we want to change the image as well, what we are going to do, simply pass the image, submit, and based on that specific condition, now what we are going to do, let's say if the blog has image, what you have to do, you have to implement the other validation. That's it. And another reason was I wanted to show you how can we simply update, use the update functionality for the many-to-many relationship. So we are going to discuss that in the next video, and I hope you guys like this video and everything is working like a charm. Okay, so I hope you guys like this video. If you liked it, please like, subscribe and share. Thank you, take care, and yes guys, be ready. Okay, take care.